The Draft Club is here in New Orleans at the Super Bowl, and Paige Dimakos, we're about to talk about some coaching hires, right? Which NFL organization won the coaching cycle?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of coaching organizations and different things that came together that we all liked. And one in particular that I was paying attention to pretty closely is somebody who grew up in Chicago. And quite frankly, I got to be honest, when you first asked me, I wasn't really that excited about Ben Johnson, right? And what I tell you, I got to wait to see the whole staff, right? And that's what we're going to break down right now is this isn't just about a head coach. This is about the whole staff that comes along when you're talking about this. This is all the position coaches, everything that goes along with this. It's how this is going to all structure, who's going to call plays, who's not going to call. All of that matters. And that's why, as much as I was critical of, because I really wanted Pete Carroll, that was the coach I wanted. Ben Johnson, if you asked me just head coach, I probably would have said a C. But with the whole staff that they put together now, I'm at a B+, A-. And I'm very excited about this staff for a variety of reasons, but two of the more recent hires that I really want to highlight here is Eric Bieniemy coming out, and somebody who has been a hot head coaching candidate over the last few years, coming from Kansas City, got some experience in college, now is coming back, very motivated. I've heard him speak on quarterbacks. I'm excited for him to spend some time around Caleb. And Antoine Randall, a guy who played in Chicago, who's from Chicago, who, if you saw the game against the Lions, he was running down the field with his players, and I was going, Antoine, man, I don't like watching you do that for the Lions. He has been one of the probably most well-talked about coaches that I'm very excited about bringing him into Chicago, giving him a bigger opportunity, and see what he can do. So this, as a whole, becomes a staff I'm really excited about. If it was just Ben Johnson, and they didn't fill out the staff the way they had, I would have been a little nervous, Keith, but I'm excited. I'm excited about the staff. What do you think about the staff?
I give it, so first off, I do give it an A. I think it was a good coaching hire, and I think some of the same steps and progressions as far as embracing the hire, I'm right there with you, right? Just Ben Johnson is like, okay, we've seen this narrative before, just hire the best, hottest play caller, and we watch this shit fizzle out, right? But he seems like he's competent and understands that this is not about me. This is about the staff I hire, and just breaking this down for the fans, right? My time when I was at LSU, you have to understand something, that first of all, coaches have their specialty, right? How did they come up through the ranks, right? Offensive side, then usually the defense may lack. Defensive side, the offense may lack. But also, they don't have enough time to pay attention to every single position, right? There's only 24 hours in a day. I have to deal with all of the media stuff. I have to create the practice scripts. I have to create the schedules, traveling, everything else, right? And then now I have to go in and watch and make sure that my position coaches are doing the right thing. It's way too much. That's why the two that you hit on, Randall plus Eric Bieniemy, I think that's the one. Eric Bieniemy hire in Chicago, because you basically got a proven offensive coordinator at a position coach job. And with him coaching the running backs, the key is to look for the Chicago Bears being aggressive in free agency, getting pass catches out of the backfield, but then and how they utilize the running back situation. I think Eric Bieniemy is going to help evolve that a lot. So I like the situation a whole lot, Chicago.
I like that a lot too, and I think just to highlight what you said, I think if you saw how Andy Reid and Bieniemy as that offense, how they utilized running backs, right? That's going to help Caleb Williams have comfortability with their tight ends, how they use their tight ends, how they use the running backs, the type of players they're going to be able to rely on. And in Chicago, that's necessary, but for young quarterbacks, it's even more necessary. And that's the part for Caleb. If you're a Bears fan, you got to sit back and go, okay, what are we going to do that's different than what we've done in the past, right? And I told you, I believe in Caleb. People have asked me all up, do you think he's the right fit? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. He had more 300-yard passing games than Patrick Mahomes this year. He had more touchdowns. He had an unbelievable year considering all the things that were going on wrong around him, right? And that's the thing is about Caleb that I feel confident in is he's confident in himself. And that's the part that you're most wary of when you watch a rookie quarterback is like, are they going to lose that confidence in themselves? Caleb hasn't lost his confidence. He hasn't. He is sure of who he is and who he can be, and I think this is the right fit. I saw him on the podcast with Amon-Ra and the St. Browns, and just like in general, I can tell you when Amon-Ra was jokingly telling Ben Johnson that Caleb, all these negative things about Caleb in hopes that he would not leave, right, because he wanted Ben Johnson to stay. Think back to a year prior when Jackson Smith and Jigba was asked a question about Shane Waldron, the new offensive coordinator, and he didn't have a damn thing.
No, you know what his response was? Is this live?
Is this live? And let me tell you, as somebody who's been around JSN, that's a nice-ass kid. That's a nice-ass kid. If you were ever going to get a positive response, it was from that kid. And the fact that he had nothing to say, that should have been our telltale sign that things were not going to go well in Chicago from that moment on. So the fact that response, that how the players view you, how they receive you, how they respect you, that matters. And I took a lot away from how Amon Ross spoke about Ben Johnson and quite frankly, how excited Caleb was in that moment about Ben Johnson. So I think it's going to work out well. I was critical at first, but I wanted to see the whole staff, and the Eric Bieniemy part of it is, it's a massive part. It's a massive part of the hire in Chicago.
They continue to make it all about Caleb Williams, and that's exactly how it should be, right? And I know you as a Bears fan, you just want consistent Pro Bowl level quarterback.
It's all about a quarterback? Who are we? I don't even know who we are anymore.
But listen, I'm going to go on the other side for me. I'm going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders, and we criticize Jerry Jones for not handing over the keys, right? Well, the ownership there, Davis, right? His problem is he don't mind handing over the keys. Sometimes he get the keys to the wrong goddamn people, right? Like John Gruden, that was not a good key situation. Do not give your key to, but Pete Carroll coming into the Las Vegas Raiders as a proven commodity, a proven guy in the NFL, a proven culture setter. He is Jim Harbaugh before Jim Harbaugh was Jim Harbaugh, right? He was the first one to go to college, win a national championship, set the tone, create a culture, go to the NFL, do the same thing, Super Bowls, sign a quarterback in the offseason, and then draft Russell Wilson and say that the rookie third rounder is better than the guy I just gave $30 million to, but you know what? Let's rock with it, right? And so you know that he can draft. He can develop. He took Geno Smith. He was the head coach for Geno Smith first ever really good year. And I think that really kind of, it evolved it for me too, because we know that Pete Carroll was a defensive guy, but when he took Geno Smith under his wings and hired the right people around him and got him to develop and go the right ways, you can say that Pete Carroll might be a quarterback whisperer on top of being one of the great defensive minds.
He is. And I'll tell you, like, the time that I was covering the Arizona Cardinals was the peak of that run between Bruce Arians and Pete Carroll, right? And they fundamentally have a lot of differences in that one's an offensive guy and one's a defensive guy. But the thing that they both have that I respect the hell out of them for is they're both player coaches. They are player first. You never have to worry about where you stand with either of them. And that's something that I can tell you, speaking to many NFL players, the number one thing that pisses them off is when they out of nowhere get cut. Or they don't know what's going on. Like you're not being upfront and honest with them, right? And these guys they don't know how to be any other way. And if you go, I've been to games at the Link. That environment is like being at a college environment. And if you heard his press conference when Pete Carroll was speaking, one of the biggest things that they need to bring back is making it feel like a Raiders game, not like a corporate Vegas game. And he said that. He's like, this is going to be a Raiders environment. And that you got to adopt and bring back some of the things that made the Raiders the Raiders. And I get it. You can't go back to the shitty stadium in Oakland, and I don't think anybody wants to do that. But you do need to bring back some of that environment, because as two people who have been to that stadium, it's beautiful, but it's very corporate. It feels like a Super Bowl every Sunday. And that's not what you want. You gotta have some traditions, and you gotta have some stuff that really makes that feel like that environment. And there's nobody better suited for that than Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I agree. And you look at the AFC West, talking about a loaded coaching situation. You have Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Andy Reid. They needed to hire Pete Carroll to be.
West part two.
Yeah, 100%. It's the same exact thing, but it's definitely fun. But let's flip this on the other side, right? We talked about the good. Let's talk about the bad.
Hang on, before we get there, I want to give one thing with the Raiders. You talk about the keys. The keys flipped to Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's true too.
This is a big part of this. You know who knows a little something about winning? I don't know, maybe the 7-time Super Bowl champion. That's why he got involved. He got involved because he knows how to win. And kudos to you, Mark Davis, for listening to the right person, having the right person in the room and listening to them. Because I'm with you. It's like sometimes you get it's like Mark is almost 2 hands off. And he's like, yeah, I'll listen to you.
He trusts everybody.
Yeah, he trusts everybody.
I just want to party, have a good time. You could be my head coach, GM. There go the keys.
100%. Tom, you know, is not going to mess around. Anything that he's involved in, and he's a part owner. Anything he's involved in, he wants to win. He don't know anything else. And this is a huge part of, if I was a Raiders fan, I feel damn good about Pete Carroll and Tom Brady. Those are winners. Those are culture setters. That's the tone setting. So as much as I feel good about the Bears, man, I wish I had Tom Brady part owner of the Chicago Bears. I'd feel a whole hell of a lot better about my situation. I can tell you that.
That was funny. Tom Brady's going after that Magic Johnson resume, right? With the player rings, ownership rings, multiple ownerships in multiple different teams. So, yeah, we'll see how they go. But I really do like what the Las Vegas Raiders are doing. And this is something, because even when John Gruden, I didn't really believe in that. Because that whole Tampa Bay situation, he kind of, the Brad Johnson and what he took over, and that was Tony Dungy players, right? He just came in there, sparked fire in 1 year. But like I said, let's do this. We talked about the good, but Draft Club, we flip stuff on its head. We got to talk about the bad. The coaching hires that we have extreme concerns about. Paige Dimakos, I'm going to toss it to you first.
Yeah, I think, and this is not a personal thing. This is just the optics and how the situation is now, right? I like Aaron Glenn a lot. I got to know him really well at the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago. But when you have, you have a head coach, right? And you tell everybody, this head coach for the New York Jets is not the right head coach. And you fire him in October, in the middle of the year, Robert Saleh. And then that half of the team gets worse, okay? And you say, we need something new. And then in that same coaching hire, you come back around and say, you know what? We're going to bring somebody in who's just like Robert Saleh. I got question marks. I don't understand what you're doing. How are you selling that to the fan base? How are you selling that you're doing something different? Because culturally, you're doing the exact same thing. And obviously, it didn't work. So either something's got to change or something's got to give. And I will say, they locked him up, and good on Aaron Glenn. He got a 5-year deal. And I saw the contract stipulations. I think he knows, hey, listen, y'all want to win? It's got to be like this. And he did play there. He was drafted there. So there are some positives. I'm having a tough time with you fired a guy and then you hired a guy that it's like the exact same situation. And I just don't trust Woody Johnson, Keith. I think maybe that's where it is. I just don't trust Woody Johnson. And what the hell's going on there in Rodgers? I got a lot of question marks.
My only response to that is the Jets be bullshitting. That's how I feel about that hire, right? They're not taking this thing serious because they have way too many unanswered questions. Before you go hire a head coach, you have the answer if Aaron Rodgers is coming back or not. You go sit down with Devontae Adams and say, listen, if Aaron Rodgers is not coming back, what do you want to do, right? You have conversations with, hey, okay, cool. What scheme does Aaron Glenn run? Because we have Sauce Gardner, who's more of a cover 3 guy, and if we play more man, then that may affect our all-pro, Pro Bowl cornerback, right? You have all of these different conversations. Running back, what are we doing with Breece Hall, right? There's so many things, the defensive line, that they didn't address. And the looming Aaron Rodgers situation for the New York Jets, unfortunately, I believe that it's going to get even messier, and it's going to affect the head coaching portion of this, because do I get 1 year in? Because if you're Aaron Glenn, what is the options, right? Because I coach with Aaron Rodgers for 1 year where he's proven that he's not the same quarterback, right? And then we have a bad season. New York Jets fans are going to want to fire me. They're going to say I'm just like Robert Saleh. And then I try to come back the next year with a potentially rookie quarterback and maybe potentially try to win.
That's my whole situation. Yeah, you just played it out exactly how I see it playing.
That's my point. And I'm just fearful that each year, and I know you and our guy Jamie, y'all talk about this, right? Those 1 year stopgap guys. And it like for some reason, it feels like that in New York. Aaron Glenn has to win playoff games. Or I think they're going, honestly, because who I think they're going after at the end of the day is Rex Ryan. They want Rex back. I think optically they're trying to appease and get situations over, because I guarantee you what probably happened was they picked up the phone, tried to figure out that Rex Ryan situation. Rex said, I'm not coaching with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. They said, okay, cool, give us a year to figure this thing out.
I mean, he said that much on TV. He was not shy about it. I mean, he said, he said he wanted the job. He said he wanted, and these are my stipulations. And I'm not coaching Aaron Rodgers. He said that verbatim on Get Up multiple times. So it's not like he's been shy about this. So we talk about it, Jamie and I call it the coach that's hired to be fired. And I hate that shit. I do, because a lot of times, especially in this league, it happens to be black coaches, and let's just call it for what it is. We see it happen all the time. And it's totally unfair. You put a guy in a situation and they get marked as a bad coach when they were brought in to a situation behind the scenes that was never prepared for success. Because not knowing whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to play or not, you can't have success unless you know what the answer to that question, Keith. You can't. I don't care if you are Jesus Christ coming back to earth. You are not coaching this team to a victory if you don't know who your damn quarterback is, because he's still on a contract. This is not like, oh, he's deciding whether or not. No, he's contractually obligated to the team. So unless he retires or you trade his ass, he is your quarterback. You got to figure this shit out. I don't even know how any coach said yes to this job. And I really wish, I get that Aaron Glenn got drafted there, and I get that he got his 5-year deal, but you and I have felt ick from the moment this hired, because we just don't like this for Aaron Glenn. We don't. And I hope to be wrong. I hope to be wrong, but guess what, Jets fans? I got a lot of time and receipts to be proven right. So until I'm proven wrong, I'm just going to go with my gut on this one.
It's given too much conspiracy. Mike Tannenbaum was a part of the head coaching search, right? GM search. Him and Rex Ryan worked together in New York in the previous stint. Rex Ryan was one of the things, he said that he wants to be in New York very bad. He can get this team back running the right way. Then, last time we seen Rex Ryan, what was he working with? A rookie quarterback and Mark Sanchez. So that is going to be pitched in 2026. The New York Jets are going to get a rookie quarterback, bring Rex Ryan back in, Mike Tannenbaum will be involved. That's just what this seems like, and it's unfortunate. But I'm going to talk about my situation, right? Talking about
situation you feel the worst
yeah, that I feel the worst about.
The Jets, but maybe I stole you.
No, I'm going to do this. Duval, that silly stuff. You're talking about trying too hard, and we've seen this before, right? Like coaches try to ingratiate themselves with cultures and fans, like just be yourself. And what you're right, 100%. That's what that reminds me of, and just the whole thing, how it played out, right? Like it starts with ownership. That ownership wanted to keep Trent Baalke in place. They couldn't find a head coach because no head coach wanted to work with Trent Baalke. They landed on Liam Coen. Liam Coen said, I'll take the job. Never mind, I won't take the job. He goes back home to Tampa Bay, says, I'm going to stay here. Then the ownership picks up the phone and say, oh, you know what I just did? I just fired Trent Baalke. Do you want to come now? He says, okay, cool, I'll come. What are we doing, right? And that's because you have no leadership and direction. And the general manager position, you're not even getting the best of the picks at the end of the day because you slept so long with holding on to Trent Baalke, right? Like you kind of halfway dug yourself in, and then when you realize no coach wants to work with him, then you get out of that. But now you don't have your opportunity to get the best of the best as far as from the general manager perspective, and that's a complete shit show. So the Jaguars, y'all took the cake, and they are 1 year away from ruining one of the best quarterback prospects of all time. If Trevor Lawrence don't get it done this year, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be in Jacksonville.
No, and I think that the unfortunate part about that is they somehow found a way to mess up an unmessable situation.
100%.
They did. Like, hiring Urban Meyer might go down as one of the dumbest things that an NFL organization has done over the last 25 years. It is not talked about nearly enough, and it's not because it's Jacksonville.
You used to say, like, hey, this is going to turn out bad. Like, this is a bad situation. I'm like, nah, P, it can't be that bad. And they got bad in 14 weeks. All it took was 14 games, and I was like, wow.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've been right about quite a few things in the NFL. I've never been more right about Urban Meyer not having success in the NFL. And they're totally different situations. Coaching in college and coaching in the NFL are very, very different. There are two guys we really know in the last however long that have been great at both. And we talked about them, Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll. Nick Saban failed in the NFL. Nick freaking Saban, okay? It is a totally different game that you are coaching. You are responsible for totally different things, and you do not have the same level of control, which is what Urban had at Ohio State, at Florida, at all the places he went. Guess what? It didn't work out. And unfortunately for Trevor, I think his time in Jacksonville will have gone wasted. And I hope for him that he gets to get out of that situation, because the Coen family, they got no idea what they're doing. And I know you parked your yacht here in New Orleans. You should just keep it here and start figuring some new shit out, because you don't know what the hell you're doing, because you're too focused on moving your team to London so you can make $1 billion from that switch up. And that's been coming down the line a long time. It's coming down the line. That's what the league is focused on, the international growth, all this stuff. And I think for Jacksonville, unfortunately, when you give a coach that much power early on without ever proving anything, That's what you did with Urban. It's the same situation. I get it that Liam Coen had a good year, but guess what?
He was only
1 year. And coaching, oh, by the way, Bruce Arians is up top helping everybody. Nobody wants to talk about that. And the Carolina 1 year prior, did that really work out? To be determined. We don't know. Bryce is a hell of a player, and it's more on him than I give the coach credit for in Dave Canales. Maybe that situation works out. But I don't understand how Liam was even a part of the coaching cycle this year. It's quite frankly ridiculous. He had 1 year as an offensive coordinator. One. And the fact that Jacksonville, he came in and then went back, like you said, and then the next day they fired Trent Baalke. Okay, it's like as if you don't have to tell us how this all went down. It's ridiculous.
If I'm Trevor Lawrence, I don't feel appreciated, right? In the sense of the fact of that I'm sitting here as this talent, and y'all keep putting bullshit around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not trying to protect me. You're not trying to help me. This is your second time doing this. The Doug Peterson thing, I was all on board. I fully understood it. But I think, honestly, yeah, it should have been hired the first time around. And then the other situation that nobody paid attention to was the Trent Baalke situation. How many draft picks did he flat out miss on? So if I'm Doug Peterson, what the hell you want me to do if you keep missing and we have the worst defense in the entire
And Doug Peterson's a hell of a coach. He's a great coach, and I will go down like what we talked about in a previous episode, where you got to have everything on the same page, right? You got to have head coach, GM, ownership. This is you got bad owners, okay? The Coen family who don't know what they're doing. You had a bad GM who quite literally no head coach was taking a job. What did I tell you beforehand? They had reported it. They tried to keep it on the low, but I was like, that's very interesting. Trent Baalke was no longer the head coach. Was going to report directly to the Cons. That never happens. Anytime you're taking your GM, just fire him then. What were you doing? This whole situation, somebody got to make sense of me. Like, I need the Cons to explain to me. When you made the decision to say Trent Baalke no longer has any decision making, he's not going to hire the coach and the coach isn't going to answer to him. Why didn't you fire him then? What was the purpose of that? It makes no sense. So you waited a week later to can him. That is a bad situation from top to bottom, and I pray for sunshine. I pray for Trevor Lawrence that he can get the hell out of there, because that situation is bad from top to bottom. It's really bad.
I agree with Paige Dimakos. We are in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and we can't even put New Orleans a part of this conversation because 2 months in, they don't even have a goddamn head coach yet. So they will be ranked the next time we talk about this with the coaching hires, because we have no idea who they're going to hire at this moment. But I'm Keith Sanchez. That's Paige Dimakos. This is the Draft Club. Players only.